Chandler, Arizona. Several SWAT agents are already on the ground, armed and in formation. More arrive in a van and crash into the safe house, interrupting a man's TV time and forcing him to the floor. Kate clears several corners and rooms, all empty until one. The man behind the door greets her with gunfire, but she dodges and retaliates, gunning him down. She checks his pulse, confirms he's gone, but can't understand why he's shot. Reggie spots something behind a hole in the wall. They start tearing at it, but the stench drives them back. Behind it are corpses wrapped in plastic. Kate is outside, retching.
Those weren't our hostages.
No, that was something else.
By the time forensics moves in, about 30 corpses are pulled from the walls, not counting the attic and the back hall. All are badly decomposed, each hooded and suffocated. Out in the shed, an officer forces at a locked compartment. They'll need cutters, and just as Kate peers out to see what they found, an explosion rips through the shed, a booby trap. After the bizarre raid, Kate has a shower, rinsing off blood from a cut on her scalp. The news has reached reporters, headlines for anyone who cares to see. Kate and Reggie wait outside a meeting room, unsure of what's going on. Inside, their superiors are discussing Kate's strengths and qualifications for a position.
She's been leading our kidnap response team for 3 years. Put her through the grinder since she got here, and she hasn't blinked.
Reggie is also being considered while the pair sit fidgeting, unsure if they've done something wrong. Eventually, Kate is asked to volunteer for a joint task force overseen by CIA SAC officer Matt Graver, with the mission to pursue Mr. Diaz, second in command of the Sonora cartel. She will serve as liaison, and their first target will be Guillermo, Manuel's brother. Kate accepts, driven by a need to see the cartel bosses pay for their crimes. Meanwhile, in Nogales, Mexico, Silvio is introduced as a family man with a wife and a son who wants him at his soccer game. At the Air Force Base, Reggie finds out Kate's on the list, but he isn't, meaning their time together is cut short as he has to turn back. Matt then points out Alejandro to Kate. He's part of the team, though he keeps to himself. Soon, they're settled into a private jet. Kate learns from Alejandro that they're headed to Juarez, which confuses her since she thought they were going to El Paso. The men are polar opposites. Matt is asleep at the back like a baby, while Alejandro sleeps with his hands trembling until he jolts awake from what seems like a nightmare. Kate asks if he's okay, and he simply says he's fine. He's a man of few words, not one for answering too many questions Kate tries to throw his way. Steve picks them up at the hangar, and they join a briefing with marshals and Delta Force operators. Kate scans the room, feeling like a fish out of water. The briefer warns that anyone not in the room is a potential shooter, and the operation isn't over until they're all back together there. He also says they've got to be vigilant. The room clears, leaving only Kate and the secretive Alejandro. She presses him with more questions and learns he's not American but Colombian, once a prosecutor in Mexico. Then he pulls back into parables and walks out.
Nothing will make sense to your American ears, and you will doubt everything that we do.
Kate is still unsettled and tells Matt she needs more details to make sense of the mission. Matt reminds her that she willingly asked to be part of this chaos and confirms if she's still willing to be part of it. Juarez comes into view. Kate and the others gear up with weapons and vests as Steve gives a quick history rundown while they draw closer. At the border, federal Mexican police join the convoy, sirens blaring. Police stand watch by the bridge, and from its girders hang several corpses, stripped and decapitated, a public display of execution and humiliation. In Steve's view, it's psychological warfare. The mutilation and display is designed to make it seem as if the dead somehow deserved their fate, and it's pure genius where he's concerned. They reach a spot and stop. They can hear distinct yelling in Spanish, followed by gunfire. Steve continues to set the horror tone, putting his rifle close at the same time Matt's voice crackles through the radio and announces they'll need to go around the current activity up ahead. The convoy pulls into a heavily guarded facility. Alejandro notices Kate's frayed nerves and tells her the real action won't come until they're back at El Paso's border. Troops spill out of their vehicles, and within seconds they've retrieved a hooded hostage. Alejandro warns Kate to be wary of the state police, as among them she might find some rotten eggs. Once the hostage is secured, the U.S. agents peel out, and the Mexican federales fall back into the fleet with their sirens. On a separate lane, they spot a lone cop car and go on alert, sensing trouble. Kate loses sight of it just as Matt crackles over comms that they seem to be in the clear. Up ahead, traffic grinds to a halt, and they're ordered to stay in a single lane while agents at the border work. From above, the helicopter pilot confirms the cause, a broken-down car choking the road. It'll take time to clear, so the convoy is forced to sit tight. Traffic crawls bumper to bumper. A red Impala packed with shady men catches Alejandro's eye. He signals Kate to draw her weapon, then gives the cue to the crew. The red car is 2 lanes over, but eyes are also on a green Civic 3 lanes left. Both cars ride with their windows down, 4 men inside each. On Alejandro's order, Kate rolls down her window while he steadies his rifle, peering through the red dot sight.
Gun.
Gun left.
What are the rules here?
The rules are simple. They can't fire unless fired upon. That means waiting for the other side to move first, even if it means holding their ground under pressure. Everyone stays in their vehicles unless the suspects step out first. A dog barks from a car as traffic crawls forward. The lanes begin to thin, giving the gunmen a clearer view. Weapons are visible now, but while the suspects keep theirs half hidden, the agents already have theirs drawn and steady, openly daring them to make the first move. The red Impala makes the first move. Its front passenger door opens. Kate's Jeep empties in seconds, everyone hitting the asphalt except her. She hesitates, frozen, wishing they could hold off. The officers fan out, circling both the red and green cars. One gunman steps out, weapon in hand, while Alejandro calls out in Spanish, trying to defuse. But the man's response is only a twitch, and that's enough. He's cut down instantly. The rest of the Impala's occupants follow the same fate. Steve doesn't wait either. The second he sees movement in the green Civic, he opens fire, dropping its passengers where they sit. Kate stays inside the Jeep, service pistol and confusion still intact. She's on alert and quickly catches from the rearview mirror a federal Spanish cop sneaking up to shoot her. She fires first and isn't happy about any of it. The crew return to the car and one man remarks the ordeal will end up on the papers. Steve scoffs that they won't. They drive off, Alejandro resuming station in the trunk. The traffic is still intact, no one bothering to panic, like it's just another day and such violence is an everyday occurrence. They arrive at a field where the hostage is still in their custody. Matt checks on Kate, who admits she's shaken by the way things played out with civilians caught in the crossfire, something she sees as flat out illegal. She starts questioning what she's gotten herself into, so Matt lays it out. The hostage is revealed as Guillermo and has been placed in an interrogation room. Matt toys with him, but Guillermo doesn't crack, so Matt hints at a surprise waiting for him. Rafael enters, calling Alejandro a ghost, referencing the past and apologizing for leaving him stranded. Alejandro assures him it wasn't his fault, and the two talk like old acquaintances until Rafael leans in, whispering about a tunnel, just a rumor, but a likely escape route if Alejandro can find it in time. He gives it 3 days before things are ready. When Rafael gestures toward the interrogation room, Alejandro waves him off, telling him to stay clean. Rafael nods and takes his leave. Alejandro finds the room carrying a dispenser bottle filled with water. Steve and Timmy step out, and Steve switches off the camera on his way. That leaves only Matt, Alejandro, and Guillermo inside when the torture begins. Out in the field, it's getting late. Kate, restless, settles beside a soldier for a smoke. Another soldier comes out from the facility and offers to show her some fireworks. He leads her up the railing to the observation platform and hands her a pair of binoculars. In the distance, flashes of gunfire and explosions erupt, sirens wailing as cops pour into the streets.
That's what happens when you chop the head off a chicken.
Kate reunites with Matt and Alejandro. Their next stop is Tucson, a little over 2 hours away, with Reggie waiting to drive them to the bus yard. He's still in the dark about the mission. Matt and Alejandro stride ahead, but Kate lingers for a smoke. Reggie presses her for details, but she gives him nothing, just that they were in Mexico, not El Paso. The lot is crowded with buses, and up close Kate sees civilians, men, women, and children forced to sit on the ground under the watch of armed officers. Bob calls out for directions, so Alejandro steps in, saying they only need to question those caught around the Nogales area. That frees several groups of civilians to return to the buses. Alejandro starts questioning the nearest group, asking who has been to the United States. A few men raise their hands, and he focuses on those who mention Arizona, telling them to show their hands. Reggie is still pressing for answers, but Kate has none to give, so he decides to go straight to Matt and calls him over. In a corner, the four of them talk. Matt stays defensive until he realizes refusing will cost them Kate, since she had asked for Reggie to be included. Matt finally lays it out. The mission is to find a tunnel Guillermo has already confirmed exists. They'll gather more information from miners, then use it to draw Manuel Diaz out of hiding. Following his trail will lead them to the kingpin, Fausto Alarcón, infamous for mass killings and kidnappings across the border. The idea of justice finally settles Kate and Reggie, though the new guy insists there should be no more secrets. After that, the four split up. Alejandro and Matt head one way, while Kate and Reggie go the other, with plans to regroup by daybreak. While Kate is restless, sifting through crime scene photos as if to fuel her need for vindication, Silvio's wife and child share breakfast at home. He's away for work, and she doesn't know when he'll return. Reggie brings up Kate's personal life for a moment. During her interview, she'd mentioned she's divorced, and it's clear there's no one new. Setting that aside, he warns her to be careful of guys like Matt. He's seen their type in Iraq, and it's not good news. She waves it off, saying that working with them is an opportunity to do more. Reggie and Kate arrive at the motel and join the meeting. Alejandro and Matt are already there, gathering information about the tunnel and how it operates. Their intel shows it's drug turf, with mules and Palos working there alone because of the border patrol. He knows the area well and points out the entrance, hidden behind an old car, clearly marking it on Alejandro's phone. Matt is suddenly having a good day, plans to get Phoenix SWAT via Kate's help to facilitate the next move. They watch the surveillance as the SWAT team apprehends a money launderer just outside the bank. They find enough evidence to take him into custody, and Kate sees it as an opportunity to enter the building and start building a legal case despite Matt's objections. They're already in the process of freezing his accounts, but the financial man has to admit that Diaz is smart and careful with his moves.
This is a bank line of credit. So you make payments over what you owe. And it doesn't show up as cash, it shows up as a negative loan balance. It's never reported to anyone.
Kate and Reggie take their findings to Dave, pushing for a prosecution after Matt fails to give them a listening ear. She argues the importance of following procedure and order, but Dave points out that they've been following procedure and it's not working because the enemies aren't dumb. They need to step up their game and provoke these criminals to make mistakes, and that's why people like Matt are involved. The mission as a whole isn't something Dave can call off. They're all operating under a higher jurisdiction that decided some time ago that the boundaries for justice have expanded. Upset, Kate decides she needs a drink and trusts that Reggie will join her. Over beer, Reggie brings up her personal life again, telling her she needs to take better care of herself and that she's let herself go. Phoenix PD officer Ted interrupts and Reggie introduces Kate to him. Out of earshot, Reggie tells Kate that Ted is a good guy and divorced. Soon, the three of them are sharing a table, with Ted leaning in to whisper into Kate's ear. They end up on the dance floor, grinding and laughing before melting into a kiss. Later, they return to her apartment. He takes out his keys to place on the table, and that's when she notices that the band with the key holder matches the ones confiscated from the money launderer at the bank. She pulls away immediately, and he catches on fast. He tries to calm her, but she reaches for her pistol. They struggle, a shot going off amid twisting arms. Furious that she tried to shoot him, he grips her tight, but she breaks free and he catches her leg before she can grab the gun. He drags her close and continues the struggle, seeming poised to win until Matt materializes, raising a gun to Ted's head. If you have come this far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. She lives to tell the story. Matt doesn't go easy on her, reminding her he warned her to stay put, but at least it's one step closer to Manuel. Reggie feels guilty, especially since he thought Ted was a friend. While he broods near Kate, Alejandro acts as Matt's enforcer. Ted is badly beaten and bloody, but Matt warns that it could get much worse if he doesn't give them what they need. Still, Ted talks in circles, and Alejandro isn't budging, not even for the safety of Ted's daughter. Cornered, Ted is finally ready to spill dirt on the other cops with him. Alejandro checks on Kate, who's still feeling low. On the bright side, Ted isn't exactly an assassin, he just wanted to use her for information. Alejandro mentions that Kate reminds him of someone special to him, then wraps up the pep talk by saying that D-Day is tomorrow, when they'll finally get through to Manuel. Silvio is back home with his family, unaware that he's under surveillance. He wakes up to breakfast and his son, who hopes they can play soccer before his night shift. Meanwhile, Kate and Reggie arrive for debriefing and learn agents will be on site today, as Manuel has been called to Mexico. They wait for confirmation while keeping eyes on the tunnel. The Delta team goes over the operation, and Matt suits up. No one is offering Reggie and Kate gear, and he brings it up. Matt throws a bitter jab about their snitching to Dave before clarifying that Kate is a technical necessity, nothing more. The CIA can't operate alone within U.S. borders without a domestic agency attached, and they aren't expected to follow the soldiers on site. Kate decides they'll go anyway, wanting to see the operation through and curious about exactly how they were used. Reggie, on the other hand, thinks they should walk away, having sensed trouble from the start. Surveillance spots Manuel's black Mercedes heading south-southeast. Meanwhile, Silvio is acting as a drug mule, waiting while his police trunk is loaded with parcels of drugs. Once loaded, he hits the open road. At the same time, Manuel's car is detected by CCTV, and Matt receives a call. He reports back to the crew that they need to hit the tunnel as soon as they touch down. By the time the agents are parked and waiting, the target is already 14 miles south of Nogales, speeding west. The Delta team leader is openly hostile toward Reggie and Kate, treating them like novices who need strict directions. Everyone else is geared up and ready to move. It's the dead of night, so they'll rely on thermal cameras to navigate. They eventually find the tunnel entrance and discuss strategy. Alejandro insists on going solo, confident he'll be fine. For the rest of the team, the rules of engagement are simple. Open fire. Deeper inside, they reach a section lit well enough to remove their helmets. Reggie sticks close to Kate, the two moving as a pair. Gunfire and shouts echo ahead. Soldiers are either pinned flat on the ground or taking cover against the tunnel walls. Kate creeps forward, but when shots crack too close, she flinches and drops her rifle. Reggie urges her to leave it and stay behind him, covering her as she switches to her pistol. Meanwhile, Silvio is already on his second run, loading his car faster than before. The gunfire rattling through the tunnel reaches him, and it sparks a dispute with the loader, who suddenly demands the keys. When Silvio refuses, the man pulls a gun on him, but before he can act, Matt drops him from behind. The moment Silvio sees Matt, he recognizes him only by one word, Medellin. Then Kate arrives, weapon drawn. Matt quickly pulls Silvio close, using him as cover. She orders him to step away, but Matt coldly tells her to lower her weapon. When she refuses, he shoots her twice in the Kevlar, sending her crashing back and gasping for air.
Don't ever point a weapon at me again.
Then, without hesitation, he drags Silvio into the driver's seat as a hostage. While crackling into his radio, steering Silvio at gunpoint, Matt updates the man on the other end. At the same time, the rest of the team streams out of the tunnel in near celebration, but Reggie quickly realizes Kate isn't among them. He insists they go back, only for her to stumble out moments later. She throws a desperate punch before Delta's leader restrains Reggie and Matt pins her down in a corner. With no other choice, Matt lays out the truth. This mission was never about shutting down cartels, but consolidating them. The US wants to revert the chaos into one Colombian-run syndicate it can monitor and manipulate. Alejandro, once working for the Medellin cartel himself, was hired for a personal vendetta to kill Alarcón, the man who ordered the murder of his wife and daughter back when Alejandro was a prosecutor in Juarez. Kate can't stomach it. She threatens to expose everything, but Matt warns her with chilling finality that doing so would be the biggest mistake of her life. Once Alejandro confirms the target, he forces Silvio to act as his mouthpiece. The cop, trembling, orders Manuel to step out of the car and drop his weapon. Manuel obeys, and Alejandro immediately tells Silvio to exit the vehicle. The moment he does, Alejandro guns him down without hesitation, then seizes Manuel as his ticket to Alarcón. Alejandro stays low in the car as they drive, disposing of the first protocol they encounter. Manuel, trying to keep his composure, asks,
What happens when we get to the house?
Alejandro's reply is cold.
You'll stop the car, I'll get out.
When Manuel presses again, asking what will happen to him, Alejandro simply tells him to slow the car down. At the gate, 3 men step forward to greet Manuel, but Alejandro cuts them down instantly. Manuel, already bleeding from a shot to the neck. Now, Alejandro has entrance into the house and starts clearing his path with bullets. He finds Fausto and his family eating, but the minute they spot him with the gun, the atmosphere changes. The children don't understand English, so that's what Alejandro chooses to communicate with. Fausto recognizes him, says the killing wasn't personal, and argues Alejandro isn't more righteous just because he's tied to the judicial system now. Losing his wife and kid was personal to him, so when Alejandro won't budge, Fausto suggests they take the violence away from the children. But in a cruel twist, Alejandro kills the family first, letting Fausto sit in shock before killing him too. Back home, Kate is smoking on the balcony when she notices movement inside. A voice teases her to stay off balconies for the time being. Indoors, she finds Alejandro seated comfortably, urging her to sit too. He once said she reminds him of someone special, and now he reveals it was his daughter, the one who was taken from him. Then he places a document on the table and tells her to sign it, officially stating that the operation followed lawful procedure. Kate can't bring herself to do it, but Alejandro is gentle, wiping her tears away and encouraging her to do it. When she still refuses, he calmly raises a gun to her chin, warning it could look like self-inflicted compromise if she resists. Shaking with tears rolling down her face, she finally signs.
She moved to a small town where the rule of law still exists.
He dismantles the gun after pocketing the signed paper, leaving the pieces on a shelf before walking away. On a whim, she retrieves the pistol and aims it at him from the balcony. He pauses and turns, not out of fear, but she can't pull the trigger, so he keeps walking. In Nogales, life moves on. Silvio's widow watches her son's soccer game that is briefly interrupted by the distant rattle of machine gun fire. It's a wrap for this one. Keep watching for more. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.